I feel as though I wasted an hour of my life, and I'm not gonna get that hour back in any way, shape, or form. I'm stuck with the loss. That's just something I'm just gonna have to deal with because I I don't I don't understand what it was I just watched. No, I can't say that. I understand what it was that I just watched. You want to portray the Jedi as, these bad guys, where it's like, oh hey, these Force users that aren't Jedi and aren't Sith are on this planet, and the Jedi show up and they're causing contention and watching them and freaking these people out. And enforcing their Jedi rules about, if their kids here being trained because we've got to take them to go train them ourselves. Okay, sure, fine. I understand that. But leading up to this entire week, right? After episode 1 and 2 last week, you had everywhere you went online, they were like, yeah, because when you get to episode 3 of this show, episode 3 is going to redefine everything that you understand or know about the Force in every single way, shape, and form. Okay, fine. It's going to redefine it. Where'd that happen? It didn't happen at all. Because all they basically did was introduce concepts that we're familiar with already. Night Sisters, we've seen them a bunch in the last like 2 years. You've got Night Sister Marin on Jedi Fallen Order. You've got Morgan Elsbeth and her Night Sister thing where she met where she met the light side Night Sisters on Dathomir, and then later on where she goes to the unknown region slash another galaxy to fetch Thrawn and finds more Night Sisters over there. Then of course you had the Night Sisters that are run by Mother Talzin back on Dathomir in general. So we've got Night Sisters everywhere. There's a whole side to the Force that we've never seen because we've really only ever been locked into the Jedi and Sith side. But to introduce this new faction of Night Sisters, not let them marinate, not understand where they're coming from, because first off, the whole rule, no, the power of two, that chanting is straight out of Charmed. Like if you've never seen Charmed in the WB, it was like the power of three will defend us. The power of three is the way. The power of three is the power. That's from Charmed. Like when they started chanting that in the episode, I started laughing because I started thinking of Charmed. It was like the power of two, the power of two, the power of two. And I was like, all right, cool, the power of two. That's Charmed. That's borrowed. That's borrowed straight from Charmed. So right then and there, you're not presenting me some type of new concept, and then you didn't let me stay long enough with the Night Sisters to understand what their whole thing was, because their whole thing was like, the power of two, where they pair off, and she basically says that she was like, as one you're weak, and she force pushes them down, and then she's like, but as two working together in tandem, and they're able to resist her. But then she says something more interesting, which is in regards to the Jedi believe that the Force is something that you can wield, and she's like, sure, you can wield it that way, but the force is not something that you can wield. It's something that connects everyone, that binds everyone, that there's a thread. That concept's interesting. Deep dive into that shit. But instead, this entire tribe gets wiped out in literally one episode. And you're like, okay, cool, not spending any time there. But then I guess the challenging idea that you're going with is the idea that, I don't know, the twins were created through the Force, because there's like a throwaway line where she was like, I didn't think that we would be able to have children, and then the Force like blessed us. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, but we don't spend any time on that. It's inserted, and the second it's inserted, it is instantaneously dropped, and we don't circle back to that in any way, shape, or form. Then in regards to the twins, it's we're working so hard to force May as a villain that it's almost comedic at this point in time, because I have a feeling she's not going to end up being the villain towards the end of this. Like, May is on this crusade, she blames the Jedi, which is understandable because this episode, this flashback really didn't answer any questions in regard to what happened. Because sure, May set the fire, right? But the fire spread so weird and so fast. Like the reactor blew up, then half the compound was in smoke and flames. Soul happened to be inside the compound when everything fucking happened. Why was he there? Why were all the Night Sisters essentially dead? What happened to all of them? Like it creates more questions without giving any answers in any way, shape, or form to the questions that we already had. So if you walked into this with 5 questions, you walked out of this with like 20. You're like, all right, that didn't give me anything in any way, shape, or form. Like, what was the point of this? This is like a throwaway episode. This episode felt like filler, essentially. Which bold, bold choice, Cotton, because we're going to see if that pays off for you in the future. I don't. I don't know what to think about the Acolyte. Like it's okay, but it's not good. Like it's mediocre Star Wars. It's mediocre Star Wars at best because most of the concepts you're introducing we've seen before at some other point in time where it's like the power of two, the rule of two. They're like right there next to each other, I guess. Um I don't know, man. Like I don't I can't get hyped for this. Usually for like the Mandalorian, my ass was tuning in like every single fucking night. I'm honestly waiting for that, or I'm waiting for Ahsoka to come out because at least Ahsoka and the Mandalorian were pushing they were pushing the needle. They were introducing like these new things and new concepts. You had the Mandalorian pushing this idea of clones and the Shadow Empire and things along those lines, and then you have Ahsoka literally taking us to a whole new galaxy. Introducing us to what might end up being these new concepts of the Force, watching Anakin come back in the role of like the father, like all of these things are great. The Acolyte don't got that. I don't know what we're working towards, but I can tell you a twist. I'm calling it right now. I bet money that the person who ends up becoming the Acolyte is not May, and it ends up being Osha. I bet you. I'll bet money on FanDuel. If FanDuel had something for shows, I'd bet money on that fact that towards the end of this, because I already see the generic twist. Like towards the end of this, we discover that May blamed the Jedi or some type of shit, and she ends up dying. And then Osha's the one who turns around and blames the Jedi, and she becomes a Sith Lord. But let me know what you think about this episode, man. Comment down below. Let me know. If you're new to the channel, hit like, subscribe. You know what to do. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.